Hello everyone, welcome back to Great Owl Entertainment. Now, going straight into this episode, we'll be starting the first of a new series. Now, this is not the Great Owl podcast, this is actually something completely different, something that I actually came up with a few days ago, but by all means it sounded cool. It's a series we're working on called First Impressions, where we will be looking at the first episode of a series, a pilot, or so and so, you get the picture. And in this case, we're looking at something completely different, but I guess not, you can scratch that really, not really different actually. Because what we're actually looking at is the first episode of the newest season of Doctor Who. And since this is technically the third reboot in the revival series of Doctor Who, you could argue this is technically starting a new series from the beginning. And what do you expect really? This is like the first big episode to have the newest Doctor in it, played by Jodi Whitaker, the first new cast of companions, a new showrunner, everything new. So honestly, getting straight into it, the episode just aired yesterday, and me and my friend Harry here.
Hello.
Yeah, we just finished watching the episode again today, so we're getting it fresh into our minds, and we're basically just gonna give our opinions. Really, I wouldn't call this a full-on review because honestly, this is like just a spur of the moment, but we're really just getting our feelings out first on. So, first impressions, mate. What did you think about the episode? Beginning, I guess, with the most obvious choice, the Doctor.
Right. Okay. So, I thought she was okay. I wasn't blown away by her performance, and there was some parts of it that kind of, I guess, were a bit cringy or a bit like poorly performed. But the main sort of things I've written down in my first impressions is that most of the dialogue that she said sounded like she was like performing a speech rather than talking to people, and I thought it didn't sound particularly conversational. It didn't sound natural. It sounded always like, what she was saying.
Do you think she was too similar in characteristics wise?
Yeah. Well, I mean, most like blatantly obvious, like other Doctors she was similar to was Matt Smith. She's very sort of, like, I mean, I guess it was pretty much identical to Matt Smith's like first episode, but it's like his sort of first run of being sort of like kooky and, funny-ish. It seemed very Smith-like, but I mean, this is only the first episode, so we'll get used to it, and also this is like her, introduction when she's not fully formed as the Doctor yet. So, I mean, I guess that's not to be criticised necessarily, because that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, for my impressions, really, I'm immensely happy with it. And again, I think you know from the previous episode we did, I was very nervous with how they were going to handle the character, especially in how a lot of media these days has been treated with changing genders of characters. And with Doctor Who, it makes sense, but you still have that fear of, are they going to pander to a certain demographic that's not really well liked upon and will likely not age well in the coming years going forward. And honestly, I wouldn't say I loved it, but I definitely enjoyed the episode. I left feeling a lot more satisfied and curious to see what would come next, as opposed to just feeling disappointed. Very, very different actually from the previous season's first episode, where I just left liking bits but wanting a lot more and expecting a lot more from the cast and characters. With Jodi in particular, I just loved how, again, as you said, she does have quirks to it that mirror that of Matt Smith's Doctor, but at the same time she was very off top of her head, and well, not off top of her head, but essentially she took command very quickly of the situation, as you would kind of expect from, if anything, what you would expect from Capaldi's Doctor. And again, not really got a comparison there, but I just feel like she definitely stood out a lot more as the Doctor for her first episode compared to like previous First Doctor episodes, where it was more just like they were playing up a lot of the craziness of, oh, am I the Doctor or am I not? Am I this different man? All that sorts. With Jodie's Doctor, you kind of got the impression that she clearly was trying to figure herself out, but that wasn't stopping her from doing what the Doctor does, and I enjoyed that. As for her speech, or certain points of her speech, or speeches really, I liked them in the moment, but at the same time rewatching it, I do kind of see how certain points can be a bit forced, and there are points where you kind of like, oh, that's not really standing out. as it used to in the first viewing. You're not really in the moment, and looking at it like in that depth, it does kind of like feel a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But honestly, for the first episode, for the first time we actually get to see her Doctor shine, I liked it. And honestly, I did love the moment where she honestly just started running on the crane, and yet she has that one liner of just, oh, these legs used to be longer. It's, again, a nice bit of humour there. It furtherly pushes her determinedness as the Doctor who doesn't give up on people, and I liked that. Especially in that second when you think, oh, the aliens grabbed the guy and he's going to drag him away. And for a second you think, oh my god, he's actually going to do it. He's going to go through it, and we might have one of those, oh, I should have saved him, but I didn't moments. But she doesn't give up, and she gets to the other side of the crane, and she keeps that Doctor humour.
In that moment, I didn't really think that the guy was going to get taken, because it seemed quite expected, I guess. It didn't really surprise me in any ways. Like when the way she sort of saved the day was just a lot of like, yeah, fair enough. That is how you could have done that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the execution of the plan and how she defeats the bad guy is not predictable, I guess, but it is expected of how you would expect.
It was quite
episode at the
generic
end of Doctor Who. Yeah, it does fall into that category of, oh, she just switched it with the sonic screwdriver, or what did you call
Swiss
it now?
Army.
Swiss Army Sonic.
Yeah.
And I guess a bit of a detour there. What do you think of the new Sonic?
When I first saw the image of what it looked like, I didn't like it, and now seeing that she made it, it makes sense that that's what it looks like, because she actually, like, as like a sort of fresh Doctor, starting out, she made the Sonic. That's why it looks a bit naff. The toy of it looks very poorly done, and I thought, oh, that's just the toy. So when you see it in the TV series, it looks sort of sleeker and more, like, I guess, metallic rather than plastic. But it looked exactly the same, and it was just, I didn't like it.
First impressions, I didn't like the design, and again, going into the stupid territories of the internet, I did not, on first impressions, think it looked like a dildo, but I just didn't like the overall look of it. I was happy to see that they finally changed up the color scheme and it actually looked.
Oh yeah, I like the
time.
color of the light.
Yeah, I just think it just adds a nice little bit of change in appearance. Yeah. It's nice to have that distinction of, oh, you don't have the Doctor who's got,
and it's less
the previous
like
Doctor Sonic.
Symmetrical. It's more organic.
Yeah. It kind of has that hue to the TARDIS like the 11th Doctor's one had. The colour scheme has that kind of feel that the 11th Doctor's TARDIS had, where it was very orange and bright, and that sense of a home lived in. But yeah, I don't like the design overall, and I think that they could have come up with some better ones. But I think it will grow on me going forward. And again, as you said, the fact that she makes the screwdriver adds that level of intimacy to it.
Oh yeah. I was thinking that, because back to we're talking about her character. I like that she's a practical Doctor who makes stuff like out of human tech. It harkens back, which is a nice phrase, to the second Doctor, because he made the first Sonic, didn't he? And that's the Sonic that's been continuing until now. Like this, it's the same
technically
software, just not the same face, right? But this is a new Sonic screwdriver, so this is like the second Sonic screwdriver in a way.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever actually seen him officially create the screwdriver from its classic origins, but I do like that.
But I mean, it was kind of a stretch to say that she made the Sonic screwdriver out of like Sheffield spoons and a little sort of gem from that pod, and it's now the exact same as it was before, and it could do all the stuff that it did before. It did seem a little bit like, really,
Yeah, I mean, you never know. For all we know, they could further explore it down the line and have different settings. But at the same time, I do get where you're going, and I kind of feel like they should have made this Time Lord technology, or maybe have the alien in some way be related to Gallifrey at least. Again, that bit of, I mean, the fact that later in the episode, Jodi mentions the Doctor's parents, the family of the Doctor. Again, it's a nice little moment.
Maybe
the other episode has, and you kind of feel like maybe that would have hit more home if this threat was from Gallifrey, or was not an origin from Gallifrey, but maybe a creature that had a history with the Gallifreyans.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have added a bit more of a flair to it.
Maybe later on in the
more of an
series,
emotion to
when
it.
she gets the TARDIS back, if she does, she will. They can go.
Well, she's
They can go to
guaranteed to, yeah.
like maybe not necessarily go to Gallifrey, but they can go and get maybe a second. This is going to be like a temporary Sonic, and she'll get a proper one later on, perhaps. I mean, it's more.
Maybe.
I mean, it's more like toys, isn't it? They can make more money out of it.
Whatever brings the money in, I guess.
Or maybe when she gets the TARDIS back, the Sonic will be in there, like the original Sonic. You know?
Yeah, I kind of get the impression they would want to keep on hold of this Sonic for at least the first season.
Mm.
But who knows? For all we know,
Oh
they
yeah,
could
yeah.
have a spare in the backup just in case.
Yeah.
Who knows? Again, maybe they will play Peter Capaldi when Capaldi kept getting his Sonic sunglasses destroyed, and we thought that was the end of it. Thank God, but no, it's back in the next episode.
Mm.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they might want to pull one of those if, again, I guess if the Sonic is not really liked upon by the fans.
Yeah.
And maybe they could bring that up in the final, and then they can, in the last few minutes of the final episode of this season, they can maybe have a flick out a new one, or maybe the next season.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Again,
the
I
finale
don't
of this
really know.
season, maybe.
Yeah, and I guess this will be a nice segue. Well, not a segue really. There is no segue really. Again, this is off the fly, but hey, what can we do? We're just talking about Doctor Who.
Right.
And so we'll go on to the next one then, which is discussing the companions. So, what did you think?
Funny, right? The Yaz and Ryan, I didn't think much of them. They didn't really seem to have much personality. I mean, they did. They had some moments, and like they had like character, but it didn't seem. I guess it didn't seem like characters. It felt more like real people, but not in a good way. Like in a way, like when you watch something, you're like, oh, I can relate to these people. They just seem like normal people. They seem like two normal people that you just don't really care about. But Graham and Grace, his wife, I loved them, and I thought they were amazing. And it's such a shame. Oh, spoilers for the episode, obviously. It's such a shame that Grace died. And I honestly, from the beginning, I was like, I think she's going to die because she's not part of the main cast, and she's like a really prominent bit in this. She's probably going to die. And I literally thought that from the beginning. I was like, oh, she's going to die, isn't she? But I loved her character. She was like she was the best companion, but she died, so that's a shame. But Graham I like because he's Bradley Walsh, but I like Bradley Walsh regardless. But I thought he was good. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I kind of disagree on Ryan and Yasmin. Yasmin I can relate to mainly because of the job. I can kind of see where she's coming from with how you love the job, but you want to do more and you want to have that extra push.
Yeah.
And again, and with Ryan, he suffers from it's not dyslexia, but it's dyspraxia.
Yeah, the thing about like coordination.
Yeah, that's it. Again, terrible with names, but essentially he suffers from his disorder, and that definitely hit hard with me the first time we see him try to get over the bike ride, even though it is kind of generic, and I do kind of laugh at the fact that they say off the bat he's meant to be 19 years old, even though the actor's like in his mid-20s.
Yeah. I was like, hang on, he's 19, I'm 19, he doesn't seem 19.
Yeah, but again, how the episode starts off and kind of sets all the characters up, it works for me. And again, it's nice that we're not going to be getting another Clara, and from this episode first at least, it doesn't seem like they're thankfully going to be doing the Bill Potts scenario where they just bring in this one trait to define her character off. It's not going to be, oh, I'm Bill, I serve chips and I happen to be gay. No, there's definitely flaws to these characters, and it's shown throughout the episode, even with Ryan, how he kind of has to come over his disorders by climbing up the crane. But at the end of the episode, he's still being challenged. I mean, I can bet you, had this been an episode written by Moffat, he would have likely had that arc concluded by the end of this episode, and we would have had Ryan just riding off the bike like, I'm doing it, Mum, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But you kind of got the impression that Chibnall knew that this is definitely a season that's going to have to be character driven, because I think we all know that he said a while back that this season is going to be devoid of a main story arc. So I am still disappointed in that. But it also makes sense when you look at the first episode now and see that going forward the episodes are going to be following the characters and their development. And what they've set up so far I really enjoyed. As for the adults, for Graham and Grace, again, kind of got first impressions of Graham. He kind of reminded me a lot of Wilfred Mott, but
Yeah.
at the same time, he also, again, he's the character that doesn't really want to run into danger. He's the character that we all relate to in terms of, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You're gonna get yourself killed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was not interesting, but it didn't. But I kind of expected that trait to happen in one of the characters, and with it being Graham, again, kind of expected, since all the other characters kind of fit into the category of, oh, you've got the wide-eyed youth who doesn't really understand what's going on but wants to. You've got the one who's determined by her job, and you've got the wide-eyed hopeful wife, and then you've got the cynical husband, and kind of expected, but at the same time they're likable, and I liked him. As for his wife Grace, again, she was likable. She did her service to the story. She didn't really stand out a lot, and I kind of expected that what was going to happen was that there was going to be some kind of reason for why she wouldn't stay. Because as the episode went on, the fact that she was enjoying it so much, I kind of got the impression that, oh, she might be coming along, but that won't be happening, of course, because we've seen in at least some of the trailers that she's not on the alien worlds with them. So you kind of got the impression that she was just going to be like the Jackie Tyler of this season, where she would only have like a few episodes.
I really hope that honestly, I hope that was going to be her like character. Like she's the sort of stay-at-home person who you visit every now and again in the series. But then she died, and I was like, no.
I wasn't expecting it, but at the same time, the moment it started lingering on her trying to fight the monster with the electric wire, I kind of feel like, oh, you're pulling the death trick. But at the same time, being Doctor Who, and being how a lot of the recent years have been devoid of death or consequences, it's nice to see like the first adventure outing, they're showing that, oh, there are consequences. And we do, of course, know that she's going to be back in some capacity, but I'm confident to think that under Chibnall, it's not going to be, oh, she's going to be brought back to life near the end of the series and she's going to maybe continue on as a companion like Rory. I feel like there's definitely going to be some episodes where the characters might have some hallucinations. You might have Graham contemplating about his wife and she'll be in his head giving him words of comfort. But I got on the impression at least that for this season at least, she's going to be dead as a doorknob, and hopefully going forward she'll either
doornail
not appear again.
Doorknobs aren't dead.
But yeah, but either she's either going to stick for just this one season, and future seasons might acknowledge her, but mostly just not bring her back and kind of keep to the theme of consequences, or she's going to come back in some capacity, and it will again be the trope of, oh, death doesn't matter.
I think she's dead. I think she's going to stay dead. I don't think she's coming back.
I hope so. Honestly, Doctor Who is Doctor Who, and they can come up with so many reasons to bring her back, but at the same time, I feel like you shouldn't, because again, we've had so much of it before. It would make sense to just go forward with the characters that you've established in this episode, build from there, and let them build as characters, as opposed to bringing back a character that people will like for one episode, but in the long run, look at Rory. Fans love him, but even they admit that, oh, they killed him off so many times. By the time it came to his actual death, it wasn't really. It was emotional, but at the same time, it was more just most of it was just happy, in my opinion. Again, I remember just feeling like, oh, finally they're gone and they're not coming back, and then Amy came back. But yeah, as the companions go, for a first episode, they did good. I liked that they're down to earth. They're not being built up to be important. Chibnall has demonstrated that they have human problems. And going forward, that's definitely going to be a theme for this season, and I like that. I'm just hoping that they stick to that, and they don't try and pull us under the rug with a big twist of, again, bringing Grace back, or essentially making out one of the characters to be important, and like maybe they're going to save the universe. I hope they don't do that, but I liked them.
You know the character on the train, Carl, who is the crane operator?
Yeah.
I honestly thought he would have been a better companion than the two the two youngsters, because I thought he was funny. Like he didn't have much to say and he didn't have many sort of necessarily jokes, but I thought his delivery and his acting was quite funny, even for like a very sort of minimal character. I thought he maybe not a full companion, but I thought he was pretty good.
Recollecting my notes, I actually for a split second while watching the episode, I got the impression that, is he going to be a recurring character? Is he going to maybe be revealed at the end of the episode to be connected to the big threat if there is an arc, and maybe he's going to be a spy or something for
Sorry,
the enemy?
I just realised. I bet that's going to be a thing. If we're going to talk about something now, if we're going to talk about predictions, then I've got a massive prediction. I've only got one, but maybe we should save that for the end.
Yeah, let's save that.
I'll save that for the end. We'll come back to that because that was really good, and it adds into sort of the thing that I was thinking about. But before that, we'll go on to the other. We'll get the other stuff out of the way first.
Yeah, so we'll go on to the next episode, which I'll begin with. So we'll discussing the big threat for the episode, the alien, Tim
Bloody
Shaw.
Tim Shaw! Why is his name a human name?
It was a
like
gag.
Him. I didn't like that. Do you want me to go through my stuff, or do you want to go? You go first, and I'll.
I think I'll go first.
Yep.
You've gone first
Yeah.
twice now.
Yeah, you
so
go
it's
ahead.
only fair. And honestly, I liked the design, and I going a bit. I'll hold that for the next thing we're going to talk about. But yeah, he looked great. It really did show.
Yeah.
It really did show off his menacingness for the first few minutes of the episode, and when we did see what he did to his victims, again, bit chilling, but at the same time, kind of cheesy. But at the same time, I can watch this episode. I can imagine being like 12 years old and thinking, oh god, and I'll be brushing my teeth from now on or whatever because I don't want my teeth to rot and easily be pulled out by him. But yeah, in terms of his motivation, it kind of reminded me a lot of the Predator.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was very Predator.
Again,
wasn't it?
you can see where they might have pulled some things from popular media and popular films. But I think he serviced the plot needed, and when he had his mask on, when he was advancing on the characters, when he was making threats, he definitely stood out. But at the same time, he was there clearly just to serve the purpose of an alien threat for the Doctor to face. And the fact that he doesn't die at the end kind of made me hope for a second that maybe he might come back.
He is going to die because he's got the DNA bombs in him, and he was dying as that was happening. I mean, maybe he'll come back and maybe he'll get healed on his home planet. But I mean, she did say they're very lethal and they're very fast, so he's probably going to die. So
yeah, they'll probably come up with some convoluted reason for why he comes back. But at the same time, I can see him being one of those aliens that kind of ends on the idea of him coming back, but we never get a resolution to that. Because again, it's kind of like the Sycorax. You kind of thought, might they come back maybe one day for revenge? They never do.
What was the Sycorax again?
The Christmas invasion. That I wanted to invade the planet for, I don't know, conquest reasons.
No, what did they look like?
Skulls, red eyes. It's the one that has the sword fight with David.
Oh
Tennant.
yeah, them. Oh, of course.
Yeah, but Tim Shaw, a funny name. I don't think he would be a good recurring bad guy. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that if he is going to be gone, he left in a positive light. He's not a bad villain, but at the same time, I would be happy not to see him come back.
Yeah.
What about you then?
Okay, so I think it's quite funny. On my notes, I've got Toothface was weird. So I sort of disagree with what you said about the design. I really didn't like the design. The only bit of the design that I thought was good was the helmet, sort of like the hexagon helmet. That was pretty cool. And I liked his voice. His voice was really cool. It was menacing and scary, sort of like salivary and sort of like, I don't know. But so those two bits were the only things I liked about him. I thought that the body and the armor looked really cheap and nasty. It looked like a sort of YouTuber, like live action video game mock up. Actually, no, it looked like Doom. It looked like the character from Doom. But also, his face was weird. Like when it was like, why are they taking Tooth? I'm like, this is quite interesting. Why are they going to take Tooth? And then you reveal it's on his face. It's like, why? That's disgusting. Like, and when
I guess that's the intention.
Yeah, I guess that's the point.
The concept of someone taking your teeth and using it as facial patterns. Again, something that I think will scare the kids more than the adults, who will just look at it and feel like it's a goofy alien.
But no one's gonna want that as a toy. Like, no one's gonna want the weird Toothface toy. Like the Cybermen look wicked. Yeah, I guess the Cybermen look wicked. The Daleks are cool. No one's gonna want fucking Toothface. But like. When he took his mask off, I didn't really want to look at the screen. I was like, can you just go away? And then he put it on. I was like, okay, good. I like the mask. And then he took it off again. I'm like, no, don't take it off again. You look weird. There's only one other thing that I sort of compare. You said it was like quite like a Predator, and that's pretty spot on because hunting for sport. But there's one other sort of movie that I thought he was similar to, like very sort of vaguely similar. The deleted scene in Lord of the Rings with the mouth of Sauron. I thought the mouth was quite similar looking, and like the way he spoke and the facial movements. I thought that was quite similar to the mouth of Sauron.
But yeah, not a bad villain.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's very much a one note. He has just the one purpose. And again, I can imagine him not coming back. So we'll then move on to technically the final segment, but again, we added a segment halfway through, so we might as well add that. So yeah, onto the fourth segment really. So in terms of like the effects, the cinematography.
So how it was made.
Yeah. So, what did you think overall?
Overall, right, I've got quite a bit on this because I felt quite like passionate about this point particularly. Doctor Who is a kids TV show, right? It's aimed for kids, and it's always been a kids show. Like from the very first episode, like William Hartnell, through.
Honestly, I think it's always been a family show.
Well,
but
yeah,
in
exactly.
recent years, it's been like tailored more to kids.
Always in the beginning, like they made it educational for kids. Like, that's the point of it. They made it to educate, but they've sort of gone away from that. But and then the reboot was more aimed for kids, but you still enjoyed it as an adult, right?
Also, I felt that there was a level of maturity to it where they didn't talk down to the kids, and they acknowledged that it was for kids, but at the same time it acknowledged the parents, it acknowledged the teenagers, it acknowledged the whole family for the first 4 seasons. And again, when Moffat took over, he kind of like embraced the weirdness and the magical side of it, which is okay, but when he stuck with that for the remainder of the Matt Smith era, and he kind of tried to break away from that with Capaldi, but then went back to it in the later runs, it kind of like hurt it in the long run, because again, when you introduced it to the wider audiences in America and branch it into a worldwide audience, it kind of clashes with what you kind of hoped it would have been with just the British audience, because they got to appeal now to everyone. And you got the impression that, well, I got the impression at least, that going on, it just didn't care about the older audiences or the older fans. It just tried to tailor to mostly the kids, or mostly the younger ones who wouldn't pay too much attention and would just like the cool monsters, the cool stories, and the cool effects. And even the effects kind of weared down near the end, because again, I will never forget those Cybermen flying off from St. Paul's Cathedral, or those terrible planet leaves with Bill's first episode. You definitely got the impression that they've taken a step up since then.
But I thought that this one seemed like it was quite tonally odd, because it sort of felt like the dialogue and everything felt like, oh yeah, it's for kids. Like she's being silly, and it's that for kids like that. But the way it was shot, it looked like it had a higher budget, but it looked less it didn't feel like Doctor Who. It felt like an adult drama, or like, I guess Broadchurch, but it felt like it because I still think Doctor Who should be for kids, and it felt like it wasn't, and it felt like a bit sort of like more mature, and I don't think that's a good thing because of the sort of ratings of the last season. I think they should sort of keep it for kids and have a little stuff for adults, like I said, like with like David Tennant, Christopher Eccleston. It was sort of aimed for kids, but the adults loved it too. And this doesn't feel like that. It feels like the kids, it's kind of for kids and it's kind of for adults, but it doesn't feel like it's, doing a good sort of balance.
Tonally consistent?
Yeah, it does seem very much like that.
Well, I'm not gonna. I do really disagree, because first off the bat, I would say I love the way it's shot. And it definitely feels a step up from previous seasons, where it feels like they didn't really try, or they didn't get creative. I mean, the shot of just Ryan just chucking the bike over the edge of the cliff, and when they're just sitting on the rocks, just looking out. It's a nice shot just in itself. Really.
Well, exactly, but I thought it looked great, but it didn't look Doctor Who. It looked more like an adult drama. That's my point. It doesn't look like it doesn't feel Doctor Who. It feels different, and I don't like not good different. Well, maybe it will be like later on, but it doesn't feel to me, proper.
I guess, but again, as you said, reminiscing of Broadchurch, I definitely felt you could tell that this was made by the same people. Again, the moments in Broadchurch kind of add moments of clarity where you can just take a breather, and again, I don't think that was the intention, but those moments just allow me to kind of take a breath and just take in the scenery and think, this is where we are now. This is on Earth. This is with these characters. This is their moment, and I liked that. As for the effects, again, it wasn't over effects. This episode wasn't an over effects one.
No.
But what they did show, I liked it.
Yeah.
And even the glowing tentacle thing, even though you can tell it's CGI if you clearly look at it.
There's the way, like when it was introduced, it was always at night or always in the dark, and that helped it because you get the lightning, so it's light. You can actually see stuff. It's not like too dark, but the CGI is sort of complemented by the darkness and the sort of silhouetted effect on it. I felt
it definitely worked in building up the suspense and the dream.
Oh yeah. The very first introduction of it looked great. I was like, oh, what is this? It's like a creature that's got tentacles. Then it's revealed to be like a big ball of tentacles. But at the very beginning when Ryan is in the sort of like the woods and there's that orange like light glow thingy, that looked great. I thought that was amazing because it just sort of looked. It looked like a movie. It looked like Doctor Strange, and I guess I'm a bit biased, but I think that looked good. And if they continue to do stuff like that, then I think this. Do you know if they've had a budget increase?
Oh, they have.
Yeah, because it definitely seemed
I
like
don't know. Yeah, they got the team behind Blade Runner 2049 to do a lot of the effects.
Really?
So I can definitely see. Oh, they've definitely advanced the budget, not just because of that, but I definitely feel like this season has the advantage to try some new things. I mean, we do know that one of the future episodes, I think it might be episode 5, is going to be completely CGI created. So whether that's going to be on another planet, and they'll do it justice, thankfully, or it might be some kind of like dreamscape world where they'll let the CGI people go wild with their ideas.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
You never know.
Because that could either be really good or really bad.
Yeah. Again, you never know. But again, everything about it was shot brilliantly. Even the moments at the end where they're in space, even though if you look at it, you can kind of tell that they're clearly just behind a green screen and they might be on wires.
Yeah.
They've got a fan blowing. In the moment, it's just like, yeah, you're in space, and it feels like it. You go back to that moment with the 11th Doctor holding Amy out the TARDIS, even though you can look at it clearly and see it's on the set. In the moment, it just makes you believe you're out in space with Amy. I can see flaws. And yes, some people will be a bit put off by the tone shifting and the character interactions at some points, especially with the Doctor. But at the same time, I mostly loved it, and I can look past some things as long as they don't continually feature. Because again, if the Doctor's going to be consistently jittery or going to be just frustratingly whimsical, as I would put it. I will get tired of that because again, I don't want another Matt Smith.
Yeah.
We had that already, and I feel like the moments where she was serious, or at least she was portraying the character to be serious, I think Jodi pulled it off, and I can definitely see her becoming a bit of a menacing Doctor if she tries.
I don't think.
And I like that.
I don't think she will though, because she seems like she's going to be a nice Doctor, not like a
definitely
a serious
she's not
one.
going to be. She's not going to become Capaldi in his first season. She's never going to beat that. But again, when the Doctor becomes angry, it shows the potential the Doctor has to be a threat, and I like those ones. Again, even Matt Smith during Demon's Run, those moments where he's getting angry and yelling at Colonel Runaway, it really does kind of stick with you in terms of character development, how he's gone from that point. And I liked Jodie's moments, but at the same time, I can see that she's definitely going to be the nicest Doctor we've had, and I like that. It's nice to have that in the series going forward, especially after what we've had with previous seasons and previous Doctors. But yeah, going back into the main topic this one was going to be about, the tone, the cinematography, and the effects, I liked all of them. There can be flaws.
One part of the sort of how it was made that I just didn't like was the music. The music was, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't really anything, because there's no, like, when you watch the 11th Hour, you've got the I Am the Doctor theme that was playing when Matt Smith was doing his monologue, and that was amazing. And like that what was his name, Murray Gold, he was the amazing composer, and he made all the great Doctor Who like the sort of rebooted Doctor Who stuff. I think he did most of that, and it's all amazing. But this one, you just sort of get like a running, like bass line, like, or like, you know, drum beat, and it's not music. It's just sort of a couple of different keys of piano sometimes when she's doing her speeches. There wasn't any themes that were good, and I think that's going to affect the series in a poor way, because the music in the other series have been really like emotional and impactful. Like the Gallifrey theme, I guess, that is amazing, and it's, when you listen to it, like not even watching the program, it's really emotional. And the music in this, I mean, I guess we haven't seen much of it, but there wasn't anything in this one that stood out, and I'm worried that there's not going to be any interesting music. And I am quite passionate about the music in like movies and TV, and it wasn't great.
I will kind of disagree on that one. I will admit, there wasn't a lot of standout music throughout the episode, but those moments where Jodi is saying "I am the Doctor," I like that tune. And I think that is repeated a few moments throughout the episode.
Sing it. Sing the tune.
I don't
hum it. You can't hum it. You don't remember it. That's my problem. It might be good, but it's not memorable. And all of the Murray Gold stuff is memorable, and you can just hum it, except maybe for Pete Capaldi's one. Even though I can remember some of that, but it's none of it is just like good music. It's like it's there, and I guess it's acceptable. It's not bad. It's just it's not anything interesting.
Yeah,
and that's what annoys me about it.
I will give you that, but again, we've only seen the episode twice now, so we might just be having one of those.
I know, but I was listening for the music. Like I was listening for it. Like I do it all the time, and there wasn't anything interesting. So I'm worried that that's going to be the sort of continuing thing from the rest of the series. But I guess we do need to watch some more to find out.
I will say this though: the last few minutes where we hear a variation of the ending of the theme tune,
that was amazing. But the thing is that's memorable, and that is just them redoing something, and that was great.
Yeah, it really
because it sounded like the classic series.
They should have done the intro. They should have given us the intro first episode.
Yeah, that is weird that we have to wait to the next one to listen to it. But I mean, it sounded very classic. Like it sounded like the first couple of seasons of Doctor Who, didn't it? It sounded classic, and also the sort of you saw behind the credits, it was very mirrored, and that's like the first intro, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the finished one will be.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really good.
I still wish they would have given it to us in the first episode.
We've only got another week to wait.
I can deal with them not showing us the TARDIS for the first episode, but I feel like the theme is something that they've always stuck with, and it's meant to kind of also be introduced alongside the Doctor. So just jumping straight into the human side of it, that kind of works because again, it kind of mirrors the theme of we're starting off through the eyes of these humans, so we're not seeing the fantastic world of the Doctor yet. But at the same time, again, for a first episode that's kind of meant to introduce the audience to this new era of the show, it's a bit jarring to go straight into the episode without an intro or the title, and it's just kind of stuck at the end of it like the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, it was like the Dark Knight. Yeah.
But yeah, it gets back to the main thing, really. Tone, effects, cinematography, loved them. So I guess, did you talk about your bits yet?
Yeah, sort of roughly. But there's one other bit of I think that's all on how like they made it. It's just I've got some story sort of things to go. If you want to move on to the story segment, or just I'll do a quick little thing about that. So with the story, I didn't think.
Yeah, move on to the fifth segment. Then.
Yeah, moving on to the fifth segment, the story. I didn't think that this was a particularly good opening. Like the 11th hour and the Christmas invasion, and then what was Capaldi's one? The Clockwork People.
Deep Breath.
Yeah, Deep Breath. Was it? Yeah. I liked all of them more than this one, and I thought they were good openers for the Doctor. And I guess this was alright for Jodi. I just didn't think it wasn't the best one, right? And I did think that the other ones were better. Like the 11th hour is one of the best episodes anyway. Like, and it didn't live up to it in my sort of opinion.
Honestly, I again we're disagreeing on a few things, but generally I liked this more so because of how intimate it was. Because when you look at all of those episodes, despite how good 11th hour is, they all follow the same structure. It's the world's gonna end, the Doctor has to save it. With this episode, there isn't the sense that the world's gonna end. It's more like these people are gonna die. again, it puts pressure on the Doctor to save these people who, for all intents and purposes, are strangers to him, or to her, and again, it adds that level of, so it makes sense as to why she would want to travel with them, or at the very least, it would make sense why she would stick her neck out for them, because of what they've shown they are like in the opening moments of this episode so far.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good episode. It's just it's very generic, and it doesn't seem like a good opener. And also, it does seem very similar to other episodes. Like, I was actually rewatching the 11th Hour, and it did seem quite similar, like the story to this, and not like hugely. It's just like the villain, the way that she got the villain to leave was quite similar-ish, just talking to it. But I guess that's what the Doctor does anyway. So
yeah, I guess they're not going to have a gunfight or
no.
fight. But yeah,
a couple of story moments, like in the story. They didn't explain how the Doctor can survive. How did she survive the entire thing? I thought that was the point of the episode. They were going to explain how she did. She just sort of landed.
I'm not going to lie. What? I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one thing I will admit I am not happy about. Because the moment that happened, in the moment of it is kind of funny, but then you think back, wait a minute, didn't the Fourth Doctor die falling off a tower?
Yeah.
So how can you fall out of this higher than a tower from the atmosphere of the Earth?
Yeah, and what's it?
And just come out and just brush his shoulder and go off like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. And Tennant's Doctor like fell out of a much shorter distance, fell onto some but he did his landing was a bit subdued. But then he's confused. He's like, oh my god, I didn't die. She's like, I'm fine, let's go. It's like, what? Surely you should be dead.
But even then, that wasn't that high.
Exactly, it wasn't even as high as like this one. But maybe, right? Maybe they could explain it as like, how does she survive? Is because she's still regenerating and like her body's repairing herself. But didn't the way to kill a Time Lord is to kill them as they are regenerating, or after. So surely she should be completely dead.
If they're killed before mid-regeneration.
Yeah, exactly. Surely she should be just dead.
I guess we can just chop that up to, they wanted to have a funny way to introduce the Doctor, and it was also the way to get with the plot without overcomplicating things, I guess.
Or maybe it was
which is a shame. I really would have liked it to have. Again, we talked about this, I think, in our first podcast episode. I would have loved them to have imagined a scene where, like, Yasmin is doing a patrol, and then she hears something fall into the water or the River Thames.
Yeah.
And she goes to explore, and it's the Doctor, and she again, in a weakened state, she takes her back to the station, and maybe that's how we're introduced to the threat, and the Doctor's being the Doctor, and they're confused and frustrated with her, but she convinces them to let her help. But this episode, again, if you think about it, it's kind of silly, and if you're a classic fan and you take note of how Tom Baker's Doctor died, it does add to that question of how could she survive. But at the same time, it does. Again, it's like that's the one moment that I can criticize. Yeah. Everything else about it I did like.
I like the bit where when they are in the train and Yaz thinks that she's in charge, and she's just sort of I thought that sort of dynamic of the Doctor not being the one in charge, but they are. Obviously the Doctor's going to be in charge, but the person in the episode didn't think that she was. I sort of like that sort of dynamic. But I mean, it's obviously going to be the Doctor in charge from now on, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to have a police officer in the role of a companion this time. Again, going back to I think we might have discussed this in the podcast, but if not, I did love Bernard Cribbin's character from Doctor Who: The Daleks' Invasion of Earth.
Yeah.
And I always thought it would be great to have a policeman be the companions to the Doctor. Well, if they ever got down to that at one point, if they weren't going to do the student-teacher relationship, it would have been nice to see the Doctor bounce back between a police officer. And in this case, it's nice that we got the policewoman, and
she's still an officer.
She's doing a job. She's doing a job, and she thinks she's in charge. And again, the Doctor takes authority. It's nice, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they will work with that. Again, people seem to think that she was the weakest character of the episode. At least what people are saying on Twitter.
Well, yes. I thought she was.
Yeah, I didn't mind her. Again, she's not full front and center like Ryan is, and yeah, I can kind of see it. But at the same time, the potential she has because she's a police officer opens the doors to so many cool things they can do. And again, it could be potentially interesting to see what they can do with some running gags, like one of the officers comes up to the police box, and she's trying to hide the fact that I've got to close the door, and say, what's that? and again, it could lead to so many cool, funny moments.
Yeah, like they're
never-
definitely going to do some sort of joke with the time, like with the police box and the police officer. They're going to be do some sort of like reference or callback. You know?
They might do a scene from Hungry Earth and Cold Blood where that woman thinks Rory is a police officer. Maybe they can actually do that, but yeah, I am a police officer.
Yeah.
Put me in the direction of the threat.
The episode for me at the beginning seemed a bit slow, but it was to be expected because it's the first episode and they have to introduce the characters, don't they? So that I didn't mind because it kind of had to be like that. I was expecting it to be slow. Apart from those things, that's all I have about the actual story itself. That's really the only things I have to say about the story.
Yeah, I think that very much sums up the story portion of it. I guess going. Oh yeah, one more thing. I guess. Again, I think we might have touched on it already, but what do you think of how the Doctor got her costume?
I didn't like that. Thanks for bringing that up. I didn't like that. Because in like I said earlier on about like how I didn't like this compared to the other openers because it didn't seem Doctor Who-ish. When in the opening, in the first episodes of specifically Matt Smith and David Tennant, when they got their costumes, for me it felt like something important and it felt emotional because David Tennant, there was a great song playing, like again back to the music. There was a great song playing when he was changing, and he was in the TARDIS in the TARDIS like wardrobe that was cool, and I thought that was quite emotional. Not necessarily emotional. I thought that was quite resonant with you.
It was memorable because it's a room we've never seen before, a song that's very catchy, and it's the Doctor defining his final.
Yeah,
look.
and I really liked that. And it was quite funny because he like tried on, or like he had the sort of Victorian like soldier outfit. There was like some funny sort of historical like costumes he could have tried on, and I thought that was good. And then Matt Smith's one, when he was trying his clothes, that it was when like you saw when you saw his final outfit, that's when he was defined as the Doctor because he was like changing through them, sort of trying to choose something. Like you saw him try on each bit of the clothes separately, which I think was sort of good. But then when he is fully formed, that's when he's like, I am the Doctor, and basically run. I love that. That was like I thought that was really amazing. But this one was just sort of like, let's go change the clothes and go to charity shop, put some clothes on.
For conspiracy theorists, you could kind of chalk that up to the producers didn't want to show the Doctor in any semblance getting naked, so they just cut to her in a new outfit as opposed to maybe she takes the shirt off or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I admit I am a bit disappointed because it's nice to see the characters go through the different potential costumes they could wear. Again, I would have loved to have seen her maybe wear a variation of Matt Smith's uniform or the first Doctor's outfit, seeing as how we did have the first Doctor in the previous episode.
Yeah.
Again, it's defining the character's final appearance kind of again sticks with you, but with this one, come to think of it, I don't think we have. Well, unless you count the moment where she says, "I am the Doctor," but we don't really have another moment where you feel like, oh, this is the moment Jodi becomes the Doctor.
Yeah.
She's got the screwdriver, she's got the look, she's got the TARDIS.
Maybe that will happen in the next one, when she gets the TARDIS. That'll be like, that's when she's fully formed, perhaps.
Maybe, but yeah, for a first episode that's meant to introduce us to this new era of the show, it kind of feels like they've chopped up the big moment into several moments.
Yeah, and even several episodes.
It doesn't really fit in together. Especially when you take into consideration how the previous Doctors have had their defining moments. But yeah, other than that, really, as for an episode overall, in terms of its plot, I can see where the generic points come in, but it's serviceable, and that's what I was kind of hoping for, because I wasn't expecting it to be perfect. I didn't want it to be perfect, because again, you can see where all the negativity has come from in the months leading up to it, and I kind of was concerned that they were going to go into a certain direction, but thankfully they didn't go in that direction, and they focused on the characters, the episode, and the Doctor, not the female Doctor, and I loved that. But again, for an opener, it has its weak moments. The villain is, again, he's not that memorable. The music the music has its moments, and I love the ending theme,
Oh yeah,
But again,
that's
as
amazing.
you said, there doesn't seem to be any standout songs, and again, missed opportunity to kind of kill off Grace, but at the same time, it works for the other
Oh
characters.
yeah, obviously.
And I'm looking forward to seeing where that will take them.
Um,
Overall, I liked it. Again, I'm saying that a lot throughout this review, but, but honestly, yeah, it's an enjoyable episode that people will like. It will definitely introduce audiences to Jodie's Doctor, but I do get the sense that they're going to have to watch episode 2 to really get that conclusion, get that sense of closure for defining this Doctor.
But you do bring up a good point. You don't want this episode to be good, or like you don't want it to be the best episode it could possibly have been, because then the rest of the season would have relied on this one. It'd be like, oh, this one's really good. If the other one can catch up with it, then that'd be amazing. But usually, the first episode's good, second episode's bad because it can't live up to the first one. So if this is necessarily a bad episode, or not, if it was like a generic episode, they can raise the bar in the rest of the episodes, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah, I actually remember telling this to a coworker today. I liked the fact that it wasn't trying to be too big, and I'm just hoping that the next 9 episodes will reflect that as well. They try to just be good stories. They don't try to be bigger than they can be, or they don't try to be too important.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything on the plot? Or have you?
No.
Again, I'm losing track.
That's all I want to talk about the plot, but I do have my prediction for later on. Should we get to that?
Okay, so we'll go into the prediction section now. So, again, there's not really an overarching story for this season, but the plot threads that have been left hanging. What do you think you're looking
so
forward to?
My big sort of prediction that I think might turn into something. You sort of brought it up earlier on, but Carl, the character I said I thought it was quite funny. He worked for his dad's company, which was called Skylark, and they wouldn't introduce the name of the company for no reason. And I looked up to see if Skylark was the actual company. It isn't. So I think Skylark might be an evil corporation or something throughout the rest of the series, which I think might be a little sort of good foreshadowing in this one, that it's just like a building company. But maybe in the future, Skylark becomes like a really evil sort of like Spectre sort of thing, and that Carl, his dad, is going to be one of the main villains of the whole thing, or might be a character that we already know. Not necessarily not saying master, but like a master style character that we might already know who could own a massive company, and then Carl might be some sort of either a spy, or he might just be a sort of regular guy who maybe defeats his dad, or something, or mum. Well, no, his dad is, because his dad owns the company, right? So I think Skylark is going to be a thing. It might not be what I said. It might just be referenced later on, but I think that will become something, because they can't just add the name for no reason.
Yeah, interesting to say the least. Honestly, I wasn't expecting something that elaborate. I just kind of got the for a split second got the hopes that maybe he has something more to offer. But again, for what he offers in the episode itself, I can see him just being this one-off character that we see in the opener. But again, I wouldn't be again, adding to the interest, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back maybe down the line for whatever reason, for all we know. As for me, I'm curious about certain other things that I actually got up here on Screen Rant. They put up some questions that from following the episode's premiere, and I would love to know if they're going to explain why the TARDIS abandoned the Doctor. Because again, this is going back to Series 10. They kind of introduced this subplot with the TARDIS disappearing in The Empress of Mars, and we never really got a resolution to that. I mean, the episode even ends with Missy asking the Doctor, "Are you alright?" And we never really got a resolution to that either. So I've been thinking, maybe do you think they might try and incorporate that plot into this season? And again, even if they do reunite the Doctor with the TARDIS in the Ghost Monument, I would be interested to see if they do continue on that plot thread, if they want to, and they kind of have that payoff in the final.
Perhaps.
Maybe. Other than that, really, again, nothing really stands out from the arcs, other than the fact that the character arcs for Ryan and for Graham. Oh, and speaking of Graham, the fact that he's got cancer. Do you think that might come into play in the last latter episodes of the season?
Oh yeah, probably.
Because I got the impression once he revealed he had cancer, that they might try and pull a trick where he's getting, his health is deteriorating as the series goes on, and by the end of it he's either going to succumb to it but be at peace with the adventures and reunite with Grace, or this might be a recurring thing for his character as the series goes on until maybe he wants to leave.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't bring it up for no reason, would they? So.
Yeah, I think it definitely gives us a cheeky way of making us sympathise with him more, because he's got cancer now, so he's got to go on the adventures. But at the same time, it kind of adds to why he should go on the adventures with them. Yeah,
maybe that would be a sort of like thing for him. It's like, he doesn't have like, maybe he doesn't have long, or like he doesn't. His life's going to be boring if he just doesn't do anything. So the sort of cancer gives him a sort of reason to do stuff, and to go with the Doctor.
In his speech at Grace's funeral, he says, "I'm upset because I wanted more. Maybe these adventures going forward will be the more he wants, the more." And yeah, again, interesting possibilities for where they could go character-wise. But I am still disappointed that we're not getting an overarching villain. Again, I can see the benefits to that, but again, I've always been a sucker for the arcs of the series. But at the same time, I'm probably being greedy here, because again, the last few arcs we've had throughout the years have been mixed to terrible. Again, I'm thinking of the Vault arc and the Hybrid arc, really.
They were the best.
I hate that arc. Fuck you, I hate that arc. But I think the best arc we had was the Crack, but even then that got a bit confusing. But the David Tennant arcs were very simple, and again, I was kind of expecting maybe that to happen. Again, for as you said, what's that company you mentioned?
Skylark.
Skylark. I wouldn't be surprised if Skylark does become a recurring mention down the line, if maybe that could be connected. And I actually would like that, because again, it would tie back to the Bad Wolf arcs and Torchwood, where we don't really factor it into the plot, but it is mentioned as a passing line, and that can come into play later on.
Yeah, but he did say that his dad, he works for his dad's company. So I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I guess for an episode overall, it did its job. As for Jodi Whitaker, I like her. I like her look. It's definitely grown on me since then. Still not 100% sure about the trousers, but at the same time, that wasn't the forefront center of my thoughts when I was watching it. So again, that's got to be good. The Sonic could have a better design, but I love the new orange shoe, and I love how she created it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with it. Maybe what new things they will explore with it, or if they're just going to pull it under us and just say, "Oh, it's just the same basic stuff that Sonic's done before." In that case, again, missed opportunity. But the characters, the companions, definitely sold me, especially Graham's character and Ryan's character, definitely. Yasmin has potential, and I hope they use her to their advantage. Grace was good for what she did. It's a shame she's gone, but at the same time, we know she's going to be a recurring character, so I'm curious to see what they'll do with her, but I hope they just don't pull a Rory. Overall, I liked the first episode of Series 11, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they will do. I'm looking forward to the next episode, and I'm definitely going to be tuning in. Whether or not it lives up to this episode, I'll wait and see, I guess.
Yeah.
What about you?
As an overall sort of episode, I wasn't really, enamoured by it. It was like, it was okay. It was all right. It was a good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. But we do have a lot to sort of look forward to in the next sort of like upcoming, the rest of the episodes, or the rest of the 9 episodes. We've got a lot to look forward to, which I think is good. And also all the I like that they gave us a sort of look at all the different actors who are going to be in the rest of the series at the end.
Yeah, that was nice.
I like that.
Again, bit disappointing that they don't show us anything, but at the same time, makes sense.
Well, there is a trailer for the next episode, but I just haven't watched it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks alright.
I'm not going to watch it because I don't like watching the next on, because I just rather enjoy it rather than know what's going to come up.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't really give us too much, right? It's more just of a basic. It gives us more of a basic premise of what you expect from a Trapped on the Planet episode, and again for our first Companions Planet episode. So yeah, if you get curious, by all means check it out. But I'm not sure. I'm debating if I should watch the next time trailers going forward after this one. but at the same time, I'm eager to see what they'll do and what they'll bring. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it was good. It's all right.
Well, yeah, thank you everyone. This was first impressions. Honestly, again, this is a spur of the moment episode. This wasn't really something I was going to do because the original plan actually was to do a full season analysis once the episodes were aired. We might still do that, but I guess it really depends on timing, schedules, and what we'll think of when we see the final episode. Overall, for the first episode of Doctor Who and the introduction to Series 11, I think it's promising. It's good, not perfect, which is what I was hoping for. I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll bring us. And overall, really, I just hope that they don't try and go down certain paths. And yeah, we'll just see where it goes from there.
Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. That was first impressions. We might see later on down the road if we're going to do any more first impressions that we could do, like Game of Thrones or movies that we see, like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, perhaps. But thanks for watching this episode about the woman who fell to Earth, Doctor Who Series 11.
Let us know if you'd actually like to see more of these. Again, this is not going to be a recurring series, but if we happen to come across a first episode that we find interesting, by all means we'll talk about it and see what we think. We don't know if we'll do episode reviews of the subsequent episodes of Series 11, but by all means we might do a Series 11 review once the final episode's aired. In the meantime though, thank you for tuning in. I am Kobe.
And I am Harry.
And thank you so much for joining us here at Great Owl Entertainment. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!
Bye!